Hey everybody, it's Tom with TKI. Today we are doing an install of a 93 SV and a black box on our standard size shuttle. We get a lot of questions asked about our standard size shuttle over our deluxe size shuttle. The standard size shuttle works great for anything from a 7-inch, a 9, a 10, even the 12-inch Garmin's, Lowrance, or the Bird units. Our deluxe shuttle is a very large shuttle. It was intended for large batteries, large screens, 12 inches and bigger. We see a lot of guys with 15 and 16-inch graphs with really large batteries for the deluxe. So we always try and steer people towards our standard size shuttle, but the deluxe is also an option as well. In today's install, we will be installing a Norsk 50 amp hour battery. Awesome battery. It's got the Bluetooth capability and all of that. The other thing we will be mounting on is our shuttle plate. So it is a plate to be able to mount it to a small graph mount. So we're going to show you how to assemble all of this, put the brackets on our shuttle as we're in the process of assembling. Most of the shuttle is already assembled. It's just hooking up some wires, putting the battery in place, and bolting it together. All right, we are going to start assembly of the shuttle with the 93 SV, the GLS 10. One thing that we did notice when we took this out of the box, I believe that this was an ice fishing bundle. So what we got is a little bitty short network cord. These network cords are really nice for the shuttles. That way you don't have a big long cord bundled up underneath. But it comes to the power or the wiring. So the ice fishing setup that Garmin sends, it has two connectors, and then it has a power for the black box and the graph, and then also a couple accessory ports. So that way you can plug whatever in here, crimp it down, and then I think that this is an auxiliary power jack for something else. This is not what we normally see, but it is the normal on the ice fishing setup. So as we get to the point of hooking it up, we have some decisions to make whether or not we want to run a switch, no switch. We still need to power the setup so the USB ports work. But with the 93 SV, they also include a power cable for just the head unit. So we're going to show how we normally hook this up with the 93 SV for the power versus how we're going to do it for the ice fishing wiring harness. So stay with this. Hopefully it's not going to be too confusing, but we are going to lay it out both ways on how to do it. All right, we are going to start by grabbing the center plate out of the box, the gimbal mount for the head unit, and then also the GLS 10. You will need some just miscellaneous bolts and hardware. I have some washers and hardware here for the head unit. The biggest part to remember on the head unit when you're doing that, always put the head of the bolt up from underneath, because we don't want a bolt that's too long going down into the battery compartment, because you're going to be really mad when you realize that bolt is hitting the battery and you got to basically take everything back apart. So we are going to start with the bolts mounting the gimbal to the center plate, and then we'll move on to the black box. So I use, this is a 1032 screw for the 932 or the 93 SV. So we're going to place it second hole in. So we're going to put one bolt through. So the plastic is a little bit smaller than the screw, but that's all right. We're just going to put it in. All right, so I have the nuts put on the bolts. We're going to grab our 3/8 wrench, our 1/8 inch bit, and we're going to tighten these up from the back. Again, I have the torque setting turned down on my drill low. This is a plastic gimbal, so you don't want to over tighten. All right, we now have the gimbal mounted to the center plate. Now we are going to move on to the GLS-10 and mount that to the back of the shuttle. All right, we are ready to start mounting the black box to the back of our center plate. So we have the gimbal mounted. Now the black box is going to mount back here. What I have found on the GLS-10, if you look, we have a very bottom hole, and we have 1, 2, 3 up. So it'd be the 4th hole up from the bottom. If you mount your black box like this in those holes, it allows your black box to hang down into the shuttle. It lowers the center of gravity, but it also allows you to reach the handle without the cords interfering, and we'll show that when we're done. So I highly recommend using the 1, 2, 3, 4th hole up from the bottom on the outside to mount your GLS-10. So we are going to do that right now. So I'm going to grab a screw with a washer. I'm going to go from this side. I don't like using the slotted style. I will just use just a washer and a bolt. So 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. Washer on this side with a nut. All right, again, gimbal mounted, black box mounted. We're ready to start working on the shuttle itself. We have the shuttle, we have the battery cord to charge, and our hardware kit. So now we are going to start by putting the rubber feet onto the shuttle. All right, so we are going to start with the rubber feet. So 1 bolt in from the bottom. It will go up through the bottom of the shuttle. If you notice, we have 2 different sets of holes in the bottom. If you go to the inner hole with the size of our rubber feet on the bottom, now our rubber feet can sit on top of a 5-gallon bucket. So that way the feet fall into the bucket. So if you want to raise it up, now you don't have to worry about the shuttle falling off. The bucket will land right out here and the feet will sit inside of it so it doesn't tip over. Just a little thing that we put on our shuttles to make it easier for the customer. So 1 bolt in, and then we're going to put the nylock nuts on. And just repeat that 4 times. Feet are tightened down, or the nuts are tightened down on the feet. Now it's time to install the battery. Keep in mind, on this Norsk battery, it can be mounted on its side, standing up. Our shuttles were designed for it to be laying down. I like to put the terminals so they point to the left as you're facing it. It just makes it easier for the batteries and the cables to run with the wiring harness on this side. So we are going to lay this battery in to get an idea of what slots our shuttle will go. So we know that we're going to move it all the way to the front. So if you take the label, it's going to be basically even with the top edge of that shuttle. So we know that we've got to be in that slot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The way that you thread your strap in is when we put it in, we're going to have to pull the tag end up. So we want to make sure we go at the back of the battery first. So we're going to drop it in there. It's going to run down the table along the bottom. And then we can slide our battery back and then up through the very front slot, just like that. We're going to take our battery, slide it back forward, insert our strap into the buckle, pull it tight, and then I place the buckle on this side of the battery. I do leave a little bit of opening because we do have to get our wire harness, so we have to connect this with our SAE power cord connector, and we have to connect all this together yet. So that's why I leave it, because I like to put the wires underneath of the strap because it helps keep everything nice and tight. So we need our little wire harness that is going to connect into the SAE connector, and then I am going to route this power cable along the back and underneath our power cable for the distribution block running to the switches. We'll do the same, and then you're just going to connect our wire harness to the terminals, our power cables, negative to negative, positive to positive. So those are just going to slide on. A little bit of resistance, slide the positive one on, and now we are going to connect to the positive on the battery. And the negative on the battery. Trying to do this so that it is easy for you to see. Okay, so now we have our power cables behind the strap, and what I'll do, basically as tight as I can possibly get it so that battery does not want to move. So battery is nice and tight, wire connectors are in place, everything is there, and now we can just tuck the tail of our battery strap into the back of the shuttle just like that. One thing that we almost forgot is on this shuttle, the customer has decided that he wants to add the link brackets to it so that he can mount it on his boat or his four-wheeler. And so we're going to show you how to do that. So you've got your set of link brackets. We've got our plate. The great part about our plate is it will fit other shuttles. So we have the holes already drilled in the side of the shuttle. If you decide to mount this on another company's shuttle, you will need to mount the female portion to the plate and then put the brackets onto that mount and then use the holes in the side of the bracket as a template to drill 3/16 diameter holes into the side of the shuttle so you can put everything on the inside. So with that, we're going to tear the bag open. We're going to pull out our hardware kit and our plate. We can set the plate off to the side because we won't necessarily need that, but we will need the hardware and the spacers that are in this bag. So we're going to grab one of our brackets, and I like the wings to go to the back of the shuttle. So we're going to open these up, and then we're going to take the bolt, insert it through the mount and through the spacer, and then we're going to come over to the side of the shuttle and we're just going to insert it there. We're going to put a nut on each one of the bolts, along, or a washer, then the nut that goes along with it. And you'll need to repeat this on this side and the other side, and then you can tighten the nuts and bolts down. So again, bolt through, spacer, they do kind of snap hard, which is nice because they're not going to come undone. So again, bolts, spacer through the side of the shuttle, washer with a nylock nut. As you can see, we have our nuts tightened down on our bolts. The little bit of bolt does stick into the inside of the box, but we have our spacers in place. Verify that. And now we are ready to mount the center plate with the head unit and the black box into the rest of the shuttle. All right, we are ready to start wiring our shuttle now. So as we first mentioned, this is an ice fishing wire harness that they send with the ice fishing transducer. So our decision is, are we going to tie this back to the battery, or are we going to tie it back to the terminal block? Since we don't have any more openings on the connectors here, we're going to have to trim these ends, strip the wire, and then feed them into the terminal block, so that way we get power for the head unit and the black box. Normally, if you don't buy an ice fishing kit, you're going to receive one power wire for the head unit and then one for the black box. The way I like to do it personally, I like to wire my head unit direct to a constant power source, because we're going to use the switch on the head unit instead of using a switch on the shuttle and a switch on the head unit. So the way that we do it is we find our terminal block, and as you can see, we have these little levers on here. Red wire runs into the orange side, black wire runs into the blue side. So we're going to flip up the end terminal because it's not being used on either side. So we insert our wire, our black wire, into the blue side, push it all the way in, flip the lever down, and we do the same on the orange side for the red wire. So red wire, flip the lever down, just give them a little tug, make sure that there's a good connection. So now we have the wire for the head unit already in place and ready to go. So now we're going to strip the ends off of this, and then we're going to do the connection for the black box and the head unit. So this is just an example how we would do it. We're going to use this now in order to make it all work. We have our ice fishing wiring harness with ends cut off, wires stripped, and we stripped them back about 1/2 inch, which is about perfect. So I always like to twist the wires, make sure they're compact. So the black wire, we are going to find the one empty terminal on the side of the block. We're going to insert that wire in, flip the lever down. The positive wire, as you can see, there are 2 of these little terminals with red wires coming off the switches. I like to put the black box power on the upper switch, so this one works the same way. Grab the little lever, flip it open, insert the wire, flip the lever down, and now we have pull on it, both ends. We got a good connection. Now our wiring is done. So we are going to start tucking all of our wires in. And we did it this way so the customer can still shut the power off to the black box, but keep the head unit on. I understand that you can press pause on the head unit, but this is a brand new user to live scope and not very familiar with it, so we're trying to make it as simple as possible. Normally you would just use this harness. We are going to use the head unit harness in conjunction with the ice fishing harness. So I apologize for any confusion. So we're going to tuck the wires in, get everything tucked away nice and tight, and then put the center plate on. All right, we have our wires with our fuse blocks down here. We have our other wires tucked away off to the left-hand side. So when we go to put our center plate, there is a notch in it for the power cables to run up through. So I like to leave them hang off to the left. We're going to grab our center plate with the black box and the gimbal mount already mounted, and then we're going to get it in place. Hey Meta, stop recording. All right, we have our wiring harnesses kind of tucked in here. We have our end terminals for the power, the black box, and the head unit. here off to the side. So the way that I like to do it is we have our center plate with everything on it. I will take our head unit like this and kind of drop it in the back way first, and then run all my power cords up, and then lay it. I like to make sure I've got enough. All the cords and everything are there, and now we can put our 2 front screws in. And then we can work on the screws on the sides here. So we're going to insert a screw through the side, line up the hole, and I'll put all 4 screws in before we start tightening any of the nuts down. So all 4 screws in. We can start our nuts. I like to put a washer. It's just my OCD. You don't need to, but that's how I do it. So these down here can get kind of tight. So a set of small hands comes in handy. Otherwise, you can take and put the nut in the box end of the wrench and then insert it and kind of get the threads to start that way as well. So if you do it that way, you may have to grab your drill start it that way, but we are not going to tighten it down yet until we get this last washer and nut on this last bolt. So drop that one in there, but we usually include at least one extra one. And then we'll make sure to get that out of the shuttle when we're almost done. All right, we're getting our last screw in place. Then I'm going to take the nut, go in here and just get it started. And then we can take our Allen wrench and our wrench and tighten down the 4 bolts that hold the center plate in position. All right, we have our black box mounted, we have our gimbal mounted, we've got our power, all of that. Now we are going to put our head unit on, connect the network cables, and then also connect the power cables. All right, so we have our saddle that goes into the gimbal for the 93 SV. So we'll go ahead and put this on. And we will just snug the knobs up. We're not going to go very tight. And then we're going to remove our cap, press the button and swing the arm down, and then we're going to mount the head unit just like that. So now we have our 93 mounted. I like to turn it directly vertical, so that way I can start plugging all of this in. So again, we are wiring this a little bit different for this customer just because he is new to it. The 2-prong will go here for the 93 SV. So we're going to connect the power cord there. And then we're going to find the 4-prong for the power. Actually, I'm wrong. It is the two wire for the power for the 93 SV. So we do need a little bit more cord, and then we're going to loop this over the top. Otherwise, you could loop it down on the bottom, but it's almost just as easy to loop it right over the top and then find its key, tighten it down. And then the extra power cord, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tuck it back down here in the shuttle so it's out of the way. Now we need to find our network cable and then connect the network cable to the 93 SV to the GLS-10. All right, we need to locate our network connector on the back of the head unit. So we have our short little cable. So we're going to plug that in, tighten the connector down, finger tight, no reason to over tighten. This cord will then run right over the top and plug into the network for the GLS-10. Do the same, finger tight, no reason to over tighten. Again, you can see nice little short network cable. So now we can loosen our knobs, rotate it at what angle we feel is going to work properly, and that's where we need to be. Now, to finish it off, we can install the handle, and then this product or this entire shuttle is done. All right, we have our network cables ran, our power cables ran. Last thing we have to do is put the handle on. For this, we use an Allen wrench or a button head. It just looks really nice. So we have a washer that goes underneath the head of it. Put the handle in, and then you can start that side. You can come over and do the opposite side as well. And you will need a 5/32 Allen wrench to tighten this handle down. There is a little bit of wording on here. I just face it down because it looks nicer. Tighten that. Tighten that side. And now we have a complete ice shuttle for a 93 SV GLS-10, all ready for the transducer. Our 93 SV, our GLS-10, and our LVS-34 all attached to our new shuttle. As you can see, we have our power light on for the GLS-10 block box, our USB ports working, and we have our charger plugged into our SAE port. If you have any questions, reach out to us through Facebook, Instagram, give us a call at the shop, or give us a follow on YouTube. This video will be posted there shortly. We hope to see you on the water.